right? And I'm sure you've heard that a million times, that fear of like, okay, well, I don't believe I can start living my passion, and I don't believe that I can do what I love for work, or I don't believe that it's possible for someone like me to achieve whatever else it may be. And then I can say it to myself before I go to bed, but I don't believe it. Because I don't believe it, I stop doing it after 2 to 3 days. What's the difference between someone who's practicing this in a way that it works? And we'll get onto action in a second, but at least practicing the belief change, because I'm fully with you, by the way. Like, I remember I had a mentor that used to constantly say to me, he'd say, Jay, you're an entrepreneur. Like, you're an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur. And at this time I was working a full-time job, 9 to 5, and getting paid whatever it was. And he'd keep telling me, he'd be like, Jay, you're an entrepreneur. And I'd keep telling him, I'd be like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm an artist. I'm a creative. I'm definitely not an entrepreneur. The last thing I want to do is run a business. Like, that's just not who I am. And if you asked me, I would have said I'm a very self-aware person at this point in my life. It wasn't that I didn't reflect enough. I felt like I really knew who I was. And I was like, and then it was only when I was required to have to be an entrepreneur did I have to shift into that gear and become one. But if you still ask me today, I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur, but I much prefer being a creative and an artist and a thinker. That's where I thrive, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But I did something when I was required to do it. So I see you smiling, and so I want to hear your reaction to what I'm sharing.
4 things there, so I hope I can remember them all. The first one is that there's a step before what you said, which is that some people aren't even aware that they don't think they deserve it. So I discovered something quite by accident, which was a theme of people selecting images for their vision board, placing them onto the board, even spending the time to like shuffle them around, make sure it all like looks and feels right, and then telling me that they never stuck them down.
Wow.
And I just had a light bulb moment, and I said, you haven't stuck them down because you don't believe you deserve them. And the person just like, had a bit of a meltdown. And so every time I've heard someone do, a variation on that theme, I've talked about deservingness. So like even that has to be known in the first place, right?
Yes. Or we think it's too ridiculous or too out there, or right.
Next, I do think it's about who you surround yourself with. So I started smiling when you said I had a mentor, because that already means that you've sought out someone that's going to challenge your thinking, that's going to push you to be your best. And my version of that is that, like I said, I spent 9 years at university to become a medical doctor in the NHS.